When we heard the news that Philip Wolff passed away last March, we were all shocked. Not just because it was days after a short illness, or because we might just have seen him the week before, but because he was invincible. After all, if he was gone, who would write our eulogy? That was Philip, always the first one to show up when you were in need, the first one to give advice when you asked, the first one up the mountain on a hike or down the hill on skis. Yes, he was always one step ahead, but boy, what a joy he was to follow, to emulate, and to learn from. I had the privilege of meeting Philip way before online travel took off. While we created Phocuswright research, I would tag along at all the Phocuswright conferences and consulting gigs, watching Philip do his magic, creating a brand, and building a platform for a fledgling industry. I especially enjoyed watching Philip one-on-one with a client or colleague, no holds barred, telling them like it was, with uncanny vision, insight, and confidence. Through the years, Philip became a mentor, a friend, a confidant, an instructor for many of us, all in the most delightful way. He took his work seriously. He loved family and friends passionately. He traveled the world, took no guff, and lived the good life. Now, if Philip was here right now, he would have already lost interest in my little speech and moved on to the next thing. So that's what I'm going to do. Yes, Philip, I know my time is up. Thank you.
I saw him on stage and was this figure that you looked at and it's like, oh my God, this is the king of the travel industry.
He inspired an entire generation of entrepreneurs to create great companies, and his style of challenging the status quo and his keen ability to simplify the complex was incomparable.
I can't count how many people he's introduced me to. That was one of his superpowers. He just knew everybody. Everybody liked him. If he did an intro, you got an answer like all the time. I suspect that the majority of people that I know in travel were introduced through Philip. And the other thing is no matter how crazy the idea was, he would believe in us.
He was this wise father figure for us. He always came in saying, look guys, here's the truth. I'm not bullshitting, right? He always used this phrase of strategically correct over politically correct. You probably know that. And he really meant it.
I think what was exceptional is for him to start working with the business, he really went to the entire team, every person from coordinators to managers, and met them and had a chance to understand what they did and their role and how they saw the company. He really made an impact on every person that he interacted with in one way or another.
The success never went to his head. And I think one of the nicest traits about successful people is if they can manage to sort of wear their success lightly. And I think Philip did really, and credit to him.
And you know, no matter how busy he was or how successful he became, he always made himself available, whether that was simply to discuss some industry news or agree to be introduced to somebody who could use his help. And he loved hosting dinners or hospitality suites to bring together industry friends and foster relationships.
It was the first day of the conference when Philip has that Wall Street panel, which I didn't like. I found it sort of boring. And I was standing at the back of the room, and I guess I must have had a frown on my face. And he approached me and said, "What's up?" And I said, "Look, I just bought the New York Times because I like to do the crossword each morning. And somebody has stolen the arts section, which has the crossword in it. So I'm pissed." And Philip just laughed and walked off. And then a few minutes later, he came back again and he held a piece of paper in his hand, and it was a printout of that day's crossword from the New York Times. And he said, "Here, make you happy." but I know you usually leave for this session, and today I want you to stay. You might learn something. And it just spoke to me of the sort of person Philip was. He had an incredible attention to detail, but he also cared about individuals, and I really liked that about him.
What really stuck out to me was that beyond this professionalism that he always brought to the table, there was a very warm human being and a true friend who really cared about also me personally.
He would not leave you alone in the darkness.
You know, on the personal level, someone who was sort of humble, enthusiastic, had great integrity and passion.
When Philip and I were with clients together, or even just among the Phocuswright team, he would say one of my favorite Philip expressions. He would say, give yourself permission. And he meant he wanted you to ask the question that you really want to ask, or to say what you really felt, or to do what was right, or usually just to dream bigger. He was always giving us permission and challenging us to be better versions of ourselves, whether at work or in life. I miss him dearly.
Philip was always a huge proponent of the next thing, right? The next idea, and constantly pushing us to think about, you know, the what if. Well, what if we could do that? What if we really could understand, say what was the absolute best thing for the customer, and then just go deliver it.
It was so human and so full of heart and love and dedication.
Philip was genuine to the core. So when you got a chance to meet him, you didn't feel that there was any walls or barriers. You could just have a conversation with him.
He was just one of the good guys.
But I was so fortunate to have known Philip, and his voice will always be with me.
Indeed, the perfect family man, husband, father, everything, and the undisputed guru of online travel. Imagining Phocuswright and indeed our travel industry and make my trip without Philip Wolf is really difficult, and the void that he's left behind by his untimely and shocking departure has really stunned us all. We miss him a lot at the board. I miss him, his friendship. I miss his wise words.
I rather remember all of the personal relationship I had with him. So he invited me and my family a couple times, together with Carol, to Cape Cod. Made me coffee in the morning, oysters in the evening, and you can talk to him about everything. And he gave you clear, crystal clear, straightforward advice. Those are the memories that I have in mind, standing with him at Oktoberfest and dancing and drinking beer and celebrating life with him.
The buzz was palpable on March 16th, 2021. Disbelief rippled through the travel industry about Philip Wolf's untimely death. The family was shocked. My son-in-law half joked that they might close the airports that day. We've been overwhelmed by the outpouring of kindness and condolence from many of you in the audience. Thank you very much. Philip was a thrifty person. He saved the cardboard that came in his laundered shirts to use in this workshop as scratch paper. Buy screws, bring in the hoses, email Dara, pick up shirts from the cleaners. This one was for me. What am I supposed to do with it? It doesn't fit in my purse. We've come to realize that Philip is still with us in a different way, whether it's a voice in the back of your head, asking yourself, what would Philip say? Or remembering one of his stories. His approach to business was big picture, strategic, down to the minute detail. He encouraged, cajoled, demanded others do the same. Think out of the box, solve a real problem. Don't be constrained by current resources. Anticipate clients' needs. It could be irritating. It could be unnerving. It could be inspirational. Philip lived fully, often saying, life is not a dress rehearsal. So help carry the Philip torch. Be generous with wisdom. Invest in people and organizations you love. Cheers often. Go on the boat. Explore and enjoy life with no regrets. Onward and upward.